Where's this emotion coming from for you?
You know, all these guys that have been with our program, been through the ups and downs, and they continue to fight. You know, it's like they my kids. I'm happy for the adversity to push through. You know, no matter the situation, I just couldn't be more proud. I'm sorry. All
right, welcome back. And I couldn't be more excited than to be joined by Thomas Hammock, the head football coach of the Northern Illinois Fighting Huskies. It's normally not in my DNA to support Northern Illinois. I'm a Ball State Cardinal, but holy cow, what a great look for the Mid-American Conference. I was so thrilled. And I'm sure, Thomas, you know Chad Spann. He's the offensive coordinator at my high school, former great Northern Illinois Husky. I had to call him with a congratulations after Saturday. Thomas, how did you do it? How did you go into Notre Dame Stadium and pull that off?
Well, I think for us, it was a culmination of a 5-year process of building the foundation of our program, guys buying into the program, retaining the players in your program, and helping those guys develop. And they just stayed committed to the process, understood that, you know, we've been in some big games before. We've had a chance to win some big games before. And for us to play against Notre Dame in that type of environment, we just had to handle the environment early, stay in the fight as long as possible, and give ourselves a chance to win in the fourth quarter.
Thomas, Coach Hammock, the MAC has a great tradition. And particularly if you go back in the 60s and 70s, we routinely pulled off some nice upsets. Northern Illinois in the early 2000s pulled off nice upsets, Power 5 schools. But someone like myself perhaps wrongly thought that the era of the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness made what you guys did far less likely to happen in the future. Is that right? Or maybe it's created more opportunities for major upsets?
Well, I just think it depends on what type of culture you're trying to build. You know, one thing about us is, you know, we're always going to start with high school student athletes and build them in a program and try to build the relationships where we can have a better chance to retain them in our program. And so if you have that at the forefront of your thought process, it's kind of like the NCAA sometime in basketball. Some teams play all true freshmen, and then when they play a veteran team, they struggle in the tournament. And so we are a veteran team led by our players and our seniors. And so for us, the moment wasn't too big. They believed in one another. They believed in the work that they put in. And obviously, we gave ourselves a chance to win.
So at the end of the game, you collapsed to your knees. In the post-game interview, you couldn't hold back the tears. When you look at the video of your reaction afterwards, what do you feel about it, or what were you feeling in that moment? Were you shocked at how much emotion you emoted at that time?
No, I was certainly shocked. You know, there's a video of my grandmother watching me become emotional. But you know, when you're in the game, you're always thinking about the next play, the next moment, the next call. So you're really not processing what's going on. And then, you know, when we had the opportunity to block the kick in the fourth quarter, I said, "Oh my goodness, we did it." And it was just an unbelievable feeling and a surreal moment that, you know, I wasn't prepared for, because, you know, you're still thinking, okay, what's the situation? What do we need to do? You know, I called a timeout on the kickoff because I didn't want to kick the number 4. So you just always in-game moment. And as we all know, the game is never over till it strikes 0. And as soon as it strike 0, I was just so elated for our players and our coaches and NIU as a university.
Well, I don't want to draw you into any trouble, particularly since you guys won. And it's easy to take the high road. But for me as a fan watching the game, there was some crazy officiating, I thought, at the end of that game. I thought you got robbed on a spot. I thought there were just several things. It was like, hey, what's going on here? They're about to steal this from us. I don't want to draw you into trouble, but did you find any of the officiating late in that game? Like, wow, what's going on here, guys?
Well, I just thought, it was some critical moments in that game. And, I had coaches in the press box asking me to challenge the spot. So I was trying to get a challenge, challenge the spot. And, I was being told they are reviewing the play. And then they reviewed it, and then you have to live with, what they decided was the spot. But I love the perseverance of our team, the fight back, the next play mentality. And they really locked themselves into executing the next play, and we was able to make the kick and then obviously stop them on defense.
Okay, sometimes it's actually easier to handle adversity than to handle success. Are you worried about that with your kids?
Well, I think, this week we got a bye week. So we're going to go back to training camp style practices. So it's going to be very, very physical. It's going to be very, very demanding. And they're going to understand that when they step on the practice field, that game is in the past. And so that gives us a chance. And what we're going to talk to our players about is, you have to overcome history. There's been a lot of examples of teams that won a game like of this magnitude and struggled the next week. But there are reasons why. You turn the ball over. You don't convert on third downs. You don't win the time of possession. You give up explosive plays. So we're going to give them all the answers to the test of how to make sure we can overcome history through our performance.
So you've already mentioned you're a veteran team, 39 seniors, the most in FBS. What are you guys doing at Northern to retain your players and to keep that many highly experienced players out of the transfer portal and committed to what you guys are doing?
Well, I think for us, we start with the opposite of transactional relationships. We build real and authentic relationships. We try to love our players, treat them like our sons, and that's just not a cliche statement. But I spent 5 years in the National Football League. And obviously, when I came back to college, it was with the intent to help mold, mentor, and develop young people. And I take that very, very seriously. Otherwise, I would have stayed with the Ravens. So I make sure my staff understands that. I make sure we take the time to do things that matter. Bring them to your house, do occasional meals, take them out, train them. We spend a lot of time this offseason with coaches talk about budget, credit, family issues, mental health. So we try to give them step-by-step teaching to prepare them for life.
You mentioned the years you spent with the Baltimore Ravens. Was your eye always on a return to college football? And part two of that question is, who are the head coaches or the mentors that prepared you for this opportunity?
When I was in Baltimore, I had tried to get an FCS opportunity, and I was told that, you got to talk to a search firm. And so once that process happened, I got a little sour to, becoming a head coach. And I said, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. If it don't, then I'll find my way in the NFL and hopefully be a coordinator and then work my way up that way. But I never had my eye on college. I had a bad experience with a job that was open. And so I said, you know what, maybe that's not for me. So, but when the opportunity came open at NIU, obviously I worked with Sean Frazier at Wisconsin. So there was a relationship there, which made it a little bit easier. And then obviously, my thought is always, if I get on the interview, I'm going to get the job. And my wife understands that, and she knew that. And some of the guys that I consider huge mentors of mine, John Harbaugh will be at the top of the list, spent 5 years with him. Barry Alvarez will be on the top of the list. The guy I played for, Joe Novak, obviously I've learned everything about being a man and becoming a coach through him and his teachings. And then Brett Bielema would be another one for me, a guy that, we worked together when he was a defensive coordinator and I was a GA, and then he hired me back. But those guys, along with Gary Anderson, will be guys that I consider mentors, guys that continue to reach out to me and give me guidance and help me in my career.
if you could, and we'll wrap up here. I don't want to keep you too long, but if you could, and again, I know you don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but the FCS opportunity, explain to our audience when they say, hey, you need to get with a search firm, what do you mean by that so my audience will understand?
Yeah, no, I had emailed the athletic director, and at the time I didn't have an agent. I didn't think I needed an agent. I thought if you do a good job of where you're at, then people will find you. But I was really looking for something different, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to develop young people. And so I emailed the athletic director, and he emailed me back, which I appreciate. But he emailed me back and said, you have to work through a search firm. So I thought to myself, if you're the athletic director of the school, you have direct impact on who gets hired, right? And so if you're going to have the, authority to respond to me, you should have the authority to tell a search firm to give me an opportunity to talk to you. So that gave me a sour taste in my mouth, but maybe that wasn't for me, and NIU was for me.
Final question. Marcus Freeman's taken a lot of heat, and I would imagine you two guys know each other. You're probably
I don't know him, but I met him
Saturday,
and he was an unbelievable person. And so the way he treated me as the head coach of Notre Dame, and he embraced me as a fellow peer, spoke volumes about him as a man and a person. And so I reached out to him after the game and told him, hey, anything that you need from us to help you, things that we saw in the game, I'll be more than willing to help you. I want to see you be successful and lead that program to great heights.
Man, that's great that you reached out in that regard. That's true sportsmanship and looking out for him. Where I was going with that question, last thing, what would you say to the Notre Dame fans that are just irate? How dare Northern Illinois come in here and beat us? Marcus Freeman must be fired. What would you say to those Notre Dame fans about, why it's not a horrible look that you lost to Northern Illinois?
I would say, they got a great leader in charge. I've watched his press conferences. I've studied him. He's been a tremendous coach his whole career. He's been a tremendous player. He's obviously extremely intelligent. And so he's a leader of men. And I think just because a game doesn't go your way doesn't mean he's not the right fit. I think he's going to do great things at Notre Dame. I'm anxious to watch him grow and develop. And, hopefully he can win a national championship.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.